But first, the big news tonight, John Edwards officially bows out of the race, leaving just Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama to fight for the Democratic nomination. And if you only listen to much of the inside D.C. media, you'd think it could not be closer. A toss-up right now. The problem? According to the latest polls, it's not. Look at the 5 most delegate-rich states, where 10 times as many delegates will be allocated as have been awarded so far. California, Clinton up an average of 12 points. New York, Clinton up 23 points. In New Jersey, she's leading by 18, by 27 in Massachusetts. Only in his home state of Illinois is Obama ahead, by 27. You'd never know that from listening to many of the D.C. pundits over the last few days.
At this point, the Democratic race is just too close to call because of Obama's gain.
The Clinton campaign, and she's going to have an uphill fight.
Now, whether you believe in the accuracy of the polls or not, since when does the media ignore polls? Many in the inside D.C. media want a horse race. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Many don't like Hillary Clinton. Maybe because the Clintons are old news, maybe because her staff has a testy relationship with many in the press, maybe because Clinton plays it safe and doesn't make news. I don't know why. But how can so many ignore the results from Florida? I know, no delegates at stake. But it's not like New Hampshire or Iowa, where delegate minds either. Up to this point, the political media has been obsessed with trends and momentum, and yet almost no one was talking about the 1.5 million people voting in the Democratic primary. Hillary Clinton won by 17%, and yet that's irrelevant in assessing trends and momentum? Finally, to those who say that John Edwards was included in the polls and no one knows where his supporters are going to go, it's true, but a poll from AP showed that Clinton was the second choice of 4 in 10 Edwards backers versus just 2.5 in 10 who would pick Obama. I just can't think of any explanation, apart from the media enamored with Obama, to explain the coverage. Joining me now, political analyst Laurence O'Donnell, MSNBC political analyst and Air America host Rachel Maddow, and the Huffington Post Roy Seekoff. All right, let me start with you, Roy, because I know you've been a big Clinton basher. You've been one of the people that I'm talking about. All right, so I'm going to come at you directly on this one. Isn't it ridiculous that A, there's this sense out there that it's dead even going into Super Tuesday, and B, the fact that Clinton doesn't get any credit from the media with regard to winning Florida?
Well, Dan, let's start off with the premise. When you say ridiculous, anything where the underlying premise is about polls is ridiculous. Are these the same polls that told us that Hillary was going to win, that Obama was going to win New Hampshire?
Suddenly the media. Because I'm not going to challenge you on that. No, but I'm not going to challenge you on that part of it, Roy. Let's even assume whether you believe in polls or you don't believe in polls. Let's talk about the media coverage. Right. The media loves polls.
Right. Dan, let's look at it both ways. So, first of all, Florida. Hillary Clinton has 35 years, as she keeps telling us, of name recognition. So in a beauty contest where they don't even go there, they don't campaign there, of course she's going to come out better. Completely unfair. That's like the New York Giants playing Madden and then beating the Patriots and saying, oh, we're going to have a victory parade. They didn't compete. They didn't compete on a playing field there. That's why she doesn't get credit. Hillary's own campaign said, we're not going to count Florida. We're not going to go down there. It's not fair. And then she goes down there and tries to have a victory celebration.
And that's
fair, ridiculous.
Rachel, that's fair political analysis, okay? But here we got the USA Today and New York Times, nothing on the front page about Hillary Clinton winning Florida. I get it. I get the no delegates part of it. Yeah. What I don't get is the media's obsession up to this point with momentum and trends. You had more people voting in Florida than have voted in all of the primaries and caucuses so far. And yet, that doesn't matter for momentum and trends?
Well, if I was laying out the front page of USA today, one of the things that I would be faced with is the fact that I can't fit a description of what Democrats did in Florida into a headline. You could say McCain wins Florida, Clinton wins contest in Florida that is not supported by the Democratic Party and confers no delegates. I mean, it's not even necessarily that it was a primary. It was essentially a poll that happened yesterday and Friday. It's not part of the process.
Fine, but you know what, Laurence? Let's even view it as a poll, all right? It would be a more accurate poll, you would think, than the polls everyone criticizes.
Yeah, as a poll, it's certainly reasonable to report, and I think there were some newspapers who had her on the front page with that. But, I mean, look, you can understand the media's dilemma. There wasn't a real campaign there. Nobody ran TV ads. No one went down there and made speeches.
Even better.
So the teams didn't really play, and so you're right, Dan. All you really had out of that was a poll. I think it's questionable exactly how they should have played it. I can't argue that it should have been front page. I can't argue that it shouldn't. I understand the calls that were made on
listen,
that.
Here's some of the coverage from last night with regard to Florida.
It is a little weird to have a victory celebration going on in a place where you never campaigned, in a state where delegates will not, at least at this point, be allocated, and everybody agreed not to go there.
They're making it sound like this is a huge, huge deal for her.
This is not a huge victory. This is not going to give her tremendous momentum going into Super Tuesday. This is a talking point.
It's a talking point because the media is saying it's a talking point. Look, I mean, here's my problem, Roy. We've been making a huge deal about New Hampshire and Iowa up to this point.
Right.
And when you look at the number of delegates, you want to talk about delegates, right? The number of delegates in New Hampshire and Iowa, you're talking about minimal numbers. You've got 30 in New Hampshire, 57 in Iowa. You got California alone has 441.
Right, agreed. But let's look, if you want to look at Florida, if you want to say Florida's a poll, let's look at the numbers. The interesting thing there was that Florida had early voting, and many of the majority of the voters voted early, starting in December. If you look at the numbers, Obama won with all the voters who made their decisions within the last month, within the last week, and within the last 3 days. That's what you're talking about with momentum. And look at the new Gallup poll. 10 days ago, just 10 days ago, Hillary was ahead by 20 points. Now, as of today, she's ahead by 6
that's
points.
Fair.
That's momentum. You want to look at polls, that's polls.
And that's fair, Rachel, okay? I accept the fact that there's no question that if you want to look at the trends, you say, you know what, the trend has been that Clinton is not ahead the way she once was.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that with a media focused on trends and momentum all the time, to simply ignore Florida, even though she won by 17 points, and say, it doesn't matter. It is irrelevant.
Dan, what's happening here is that you've got Hillary Clinton cruising along like this in the polls, and you've got Barack Obama cruising along like this. That's the interesting trend.
But you just went like this. You said Hillary Clinton here and Barack Obama here.
Yeah.
What it really is Hillary Clinton here and Barack Obama here.
Trying to make it.
But it's not that close.
But she's staying. She's stasis. She started off with name recognition nationally and in every state in the country.
But that's a great story, isn't it? Isn't that the point?
And she's
that it's a great media story. We love it. We can't get enough of I'm serious. We can't get enough of the idea of the underdog coming back at the last minute with Ted Kennedy on his side to fight for the good cause.
Listen, when you're covering something, whether you're covering it well or whether you're covering it poorly, you're going to cover the thing that's moving, not the thing that's standing still.
No, that's right.
And Hillary Clinton has been in the same position since the start of this campaign.
Totally fair,
Obama's
Laurence.
on the move.
But my concern is that those focuses on momentum and trends have been selective to a point where it's actually favoring Obama in the most important election of my lifetime.
Well, look, all political analysts, all of us are making subjective judgments. We're making our own kinds of predictions, looking at the data. You can look at the data the way you have, Dan, and predict. And by the way, if you follow your logic or the way you're looking at this, you might as well predict that Hillary Clinton's going to win big time on February 5th, and there's absolutely no question about it because the polls say so. Some of us are more reluctant to do that.
I'm not willing to do that. All I'm saying, no, I'm not willing to do that because I was the only one before New Hampshire saying this is crazy that we're sort of writing off Hillary Clinton at this point based on the polls. My point is that it's about the selective coverage. I agree with you. A lot of things could change before Super Tuesday. What I'm saying is I'm concerned and I don't want it to change because of however the media decides to cover it. It would be nice if Obama wins and Obama shows up and people say, you know what? I like that guy. I like what he says.
There's no question the media, you're right. You're right that the media loves the underdog story better. Look, on Sunday, which is the better story? That the Giants win or the Patriots win?
No question. I know.
Come on. There's no doubt about it.
I get it, but I'm going to call it out. I got to wrap it up. Roy, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Rachel and Laurence are going to stay with us.